Joining me now from New York City is best-selling author Douglas Murray. Douglas, let's start with the collapse of trust in institutions like the Justice Department and the FBI. This is what happens when you allow institutions to be captured by a political party or ideology. NBC released a poll this week showing how trust in the FBI has plummeted amongst Republicans and independents, but it's soared among Democrats. And given the manner in which they have behaved in recent years, the Russian collusion hoax, and now they're targeting conservatives, including most recently a group called Mums for Liberty, you can see why independents and Republicans are now looking at the FBI with suspicion.
Yes, and the tragedy of it, Rita, in modern America, is that it could just as easily flip next month. You know, when the FBI announced that they were going to investigate Hillary Clinton ahead of the 2016 election, the FBI was at rock bottom in trust among Democrats. Now that the indictment seemed to be going the way they'd favor, lo and behold, the FBI's reputation is back up among Democrats. It's so sad to see this. And I think it's not just something we should look on with sort of horror. I think it's a warning to other democracies. I think it's a warning of what happens when your institutions become politicized. You know, I believe that, you know, in Australia and Britain, for instance, we have all sorts of problems. Goodness knows you and I could list them. But one problem that we haven't got to the extent that America has is this way in which every single branch of government, including the secret state as it used to be known, including the police and much more, just go up and down, or they're one side's 1 month, they're another side's another. You know, it is a real lesson in what not to do if you're an institution, because countries and democracies cannot survive when their institutions are so highly politicized, and at any time they lose the trust of effectively half the population.
Yeah, on that NBC poll, let's just have a look at the results. Back in 1995, it showed that 52% of Republicans, 50% of Democrats and 49% of independents held fairly positive views towards the FBI. So pretty much equal amongst all political groups there. But fast forward to 2022, and you've got Republicans with only 18% trust in the FBI. Democrats 70, they're loving the FBI, and independents have also plummeted to 37%. Douglas, both Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis, the Republican frontrunners, have vowed to tackle these institutions that most Republicans believe have been captured by the Democrats and become corrupted. Can you see that happening, and can trust be restored, at least for one half of the population?
It's an incredibly hard task, Rita. I just, my own view is that Donald Trump had 4 years to try to deal with some of these institutions, and they waged such a war on him that, among other things, he was caught up in all the Russian collusion stuff, all of these, just repeated attempts to get him out, but, effectively by some people within the state. That was profoundly anti-democratic, very, very dangerous for the democracy. So, of course, Republicans have their views about it. Donald Trump's supporters would say, well, look, because he had all this stuff thrown in front of him, he didn't have time to reform it. The truth is, I think also he just didn't have a grasp of the detail required. One of the big problems in government is always the sort of politician who thinks that if they say a thing, then it happens. We've all seen that happen. It's not the case. Just because a president says he wants something to happen, you have to work every hour of the day and night to push that policy through. Because as we saw in the Trump years, as we would see again in more Trump years if we had them, you just have to keep on to every detail. And the great leaders of the West in recent decades, including Margaret Thatcher, never let a detail drop. They were on to everyone. You need somebody not just with the bravura and the right ideas, but the discipline.
Absolutely. And that machinery is going to work against you, as it did against Trump, because he went in there promising to drain the swamp, and the swamp were ready for him.